go on our website and check out 973ESPN.com. Grayson's grades are posted. Scott Grayson also takes you inside the locker room as he talks to a bunch of the key Eagles. You can see those video interviews on our website, 973ESPN.com. Grayson's grades are hot off the press, and he joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Scott, I know a late night last night, and 28-13. It felt like this Washington team just didn't have another gear in them. So were you impressed with the Eagles' win, or is this another one of those, well, I need to see more because the opponent wasn't very good?
I would say yes and yes. I like the way that it kind of felt like the games of last year. You know, the offense got on the board early and then added to their lead, and ultimately the defense, along with the offense, helped make the opponent one-dimensional. Now, certainly getting to their third-string quarterback helped. They're down to, their fifth or sixth offensive lineman at guard on Washington, so they were eating up that offensive line. They shut down Adrian Pederson except for the 190-yard run. So everything seemed to go the way they needed it to in that game for the most part. And it just felt like last year's games, kind of, the way I was looking out at that game. And I thought that at one point. And, you know, again, you take it for what it is, and that is they played an inferior opponent based on all the injuries that Washington was dealing with. And I think at times in the second half, it looked like the Redskins kind of quit and just kind of lost the desire to keep playing that game. Now, does that make me feel confident going into next week? Well, I was asking the question of the guys whether or not they turned the corner last night, perhaps. And, I got mixed answers. I think some of them certainly start feeling like maybe they have. We'll find out for sure. I think Dallas is going to be a great measuring stick game as to, they're going to play a team that's hot. And the Eagles are coming off 2 wins now over division opponents and put themselves into the conversation. So we'll see. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now.
Grayson's grades. Let's take a look at some of the grades you handed out last night. You gave Doug Pederson an A. Do you think this was the best? Because a lot of people were critical of him, going for it, going for 2. He ended up getting it, going for it on 4th down. There was a couple of calls in the game. I mean, you thought this was one of his better games.
Doug is I think very good at making me scratch my head at least once a game as to something he does. And in this case, I think it was going for 2. There were 2 instances for sure. I'll take the going for 2. I thought you go to an 8-point lead. You've got an inferior offense going against your defense. Kick the extra point, take the 8-point lead. If they score, they've also got to get the 2-pointer to tie you. But that being said, he got the 2. He made it a 2-possession game, and I felt like in the end, in hindsight, I looked at it like he was going for the jugular and felt if he turned it into a 2-possession lead, Washington was done. And in the end, I think he was right in that case. I like the idea of going for it on 4th and goal from the 1, did not like the play call. And that's something I would have liked to have seen him do differently. But overall, look, it's been well documented. The struggles in the first quarter, they come out on the opening possession, 12 plays, 75 yards, score a touchdown. I liked it. I liked the balance he showed for the second week in a row with the run and Josh Adams, mixing in Darren Sproles and Corey Clement, spread the ball around. Overall, I like this Doug Pederson plan a lot better than I have earlier ones this season. And perhaps I think this team is starting to, like I asked the guys, I think they are potentially turn a corner.
Yeah, you gave Golden Tate an A as well. I mean, obviously this is his best performance, the best that they've been able to get him involved in the game.
Yeah, and I think the biggest and most telling sign for Golden Tate in this Eagles offense was the play when Carson Wentz floated to it and then put the ball up in the air for what seemed like forever and right inside with Golden Tate down the sideline. The chemistry those two guys, and Golden Tate talked about it in the locker room afterwards, he and Wentz, he's starting to feel more with Wentz. He's spending time with him off the field, and he is also then working with him at practice on the field and getting more comfortable with Wentz and Wentz with him. He felt like he saw a look from Wentz to say go downfield, and he did, and that's where Wentz put the ball, and that was a huge play at the time, as well as another one later, 32-yarder. Again, what he does, yards after the catch, has been well documented in his career, and he's doing it here now, and that's what this team really needs. He gave it to them last night in that kind of a spark, and I think he's helping Dallas have to look at this team and say, how do we have to account for this guy, as well as other pieces on this offense? And that's why I think that maybe they're starting to turn a corner.
Scott, what are your thoughts on Jim Schwartz and how he managed and called the game last night? A lot of critics out there regarding Schwartz. Do you feel like he quote unquote turn the corner? Was there a corner for him to turn last night? I mean, he finally had the chance to see his defense play with a lead, which had to relieve some pressure. So what are your thoughts on Schwartz and that defense last night?
Well, I kind of went back to, well, this is kind of what it looked like last year, and it's a lot easier to play with the lead when you can make the opponent one-dimensional. They did, to their credit, stop the run, again, except for that 190-yard play. They had Adrian Pederson going horizontal, and that's where you want him. They did a good job of attacking that, and then getting on Colt McCoy early, and then when it was Mark Sanchez, I don't think Sanchez wanted a lot of that pass rush, so he was quick to get rid of the ball at times, as we saw here at times when he was here, inaccurately, and it led to incompletions and punts. And I think a lot of that goes to I really think a lot of the defensive success went to the credit of the offense. They were running time-consuming drives, even the one that ended with the interception that went through. They're getting first downs. They're moving the ball. They're wearing out that defense. Certainly you'd like to see them finish with points there, but they were doing all the things that I think lead to making an opponent one-dimensional. And to Schwartz's credit, they did that by stuffing the run, and then they took advantage against the pass when they were able to pin their ears back, get after the quarterback, force some bad throws, and a great play by Nathan Gary to make that interception, which was nice to see because this team has really struggled to force some turnovers. So maybe that defense is turning a corner too. We'll see. I think, getting Tim Jernigan back healthy would certainly help. They didn't have him last night with that back spasm.
Yeah.
But having him in, and according to Doug Pederson, it sounds like he should be good to go. I like him and Fletcher Cox in the middle a whole lot better.
Did Jernigan never play at all, or did he play a couple? Because I saw you tweeting about that he was questionable and then he was out. Did he aggravate it in? I don't remember seeing him out there.
Supposedly he aggravated it in warm-ups, and he was listed as not playing in the final game report, so he never did get on the field for a snap.
Okay.
They had already evidently, I guess, released their inactive, so they couldn't make him inactive at that point. So it happened during warm-ups.
Go ahead.
It happened during warm-ups, and they were trying to get him stretched out on the sidelines. I was watching that after the initial announcement of back spasms, but he just couldn't get loose enough or shake those, so they held him out.
What did Peters look like in the locker room afterwards?
I saw him walking around in the locker room. He was walking fine. As I saw him walking around his locker and then towards the showers area, I think he's going to be okay. Doug Pederson said today he's obviously day to day. Look, Peters isn't going to want to miss this game. I would suspect, if I had to guess, he likely will not practice very much this week, and he doesn't need it, quite frankly. It's a short week. I think he'll probably play, but he likely will not practice this week, and he'll be on the injury report.
Good vibes in the room. I mean, I know it was late. I know every week, you said, man, they look really down. Or did you sense that this team, after last week, now 2 weeks in a row, that, all right, here we go. This is we're back.
I sense that feeling that that they believe they're turning a corner, and I think a lot of it stems from the conversation that guys like Golden Tate and some of the other players were backing him up on about a better week of practice.
Right.
That stuff we heard all last year.
Yeah, Tate said that a lot.
Well, yeah, and you heard that from the guys last year. Good practices led to good performances. When they lost, they cited bad practices during the week. They were all talking about better practices this week, and you're right, Golden Tate was the guy leading that charge. So I think that maybe this team kind of understood a little bit more about having to get back to practicing better, and that it'll, play out on the field on Sunday. So I would suspect that we'll see some more of that this week as they continue to build some confidence. And we all know, look, you got to win in December if you want to have any chance at postseason, and that's where this team's at.
Scott Grayson, 97.3 ESPN.com, has Grayson's grades. He's got all the locker room interviews, post-game, and more, so you can get a feel of what it was like inside the locker room right after the win. He talked to guys like Golden Tate and Zach Ertz and a lot of the key players from the game last night. Check them all out right now at 97.3 ESPN.com. Grayson's grades are back for Eagles-Cowboys. Big one next week in Big D. Thanks, pal.
All right, you got it. Thanks, Mike.